All right, welcome back to Sooner Surge Game Time, and we are less than, where are we? Almost 12 hours, getting close, 12 to 16 hours till game time, 11 o'clock. Before we get started in this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you can be notified for all videos that be released. Tomorrow will be a big day. We'll have a ton of content before, after the game, so please subscribe. Let's just get started, guys. In my opinion, this game is going to tell us a lot about this Oklahoma Sooner Team 129.
Oh, it's not just going to tell us a lot about Oklahoma. It's going to tell us a lot about the offensive line. And that's where I'm going to start. This Cincinnati's defensive line may just be the best defensive line Oklahoma plays all year. It'll be them or Texas. They are led by defensive tackle Dante Corleone. He will probably go in the first or second round of next year's draft. Like they call him the Godfather at Cincinnati, so that pretty much is all you need to know. He's just a guy I think it was ranked as maybe the number one returning interior defensive lineman according to PFF. If not, he was up there. And he's someone that's just he's going to be a game record. And I expect them to line him up a lot over whoever Oklahoma starts at right guard, whether that's Caden Green or whether that's Troy Everett. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes. And also, Oklahoma offensively, too, they need to be able to establish the run game this week because if they are forced into being a one-dimensional team, it is going to be tough for them to win on Saturday.
Right guard's going to be McCade Matoy or left guard.
Sorry.
Oklahoma's probably going to have a true freshman going up against, as you mentioned, Dante Corleone. I mean, it'll be a tough test for the whole offensive line, but Ken Green especially. Assuming Savion Byrd can't go, we're going to get to see what Green can do, and I think that's really your only option at left guard in this game. It's going to be interesting to see how the run game works. I imagine it'll probably be Major and Walker. I mean, Barnes and Sawchuk last week, they looked a little bit rusty, and so far I think Major and Walker have looked like the best running backs, but it'll probably be whoever has the hot hand. But I think Oklahoma is going to have to come out the same way they came out against Cincinnati. Take your deep shots and then set up your run game, or same way they came out against Tulsa. Take your deep shots and then hopefully you can get the run game going.
This is going to be a game which Oklahoma is going to need in the run game. This is the perfect game where you can get a guy like Marcus Major involved. He just, with the way Cincinnati's defensive line is, they're straight more rush up the field, create tackles in the backfield and get into the perimeter. So I expect to see a lot of Sawchuk and Marcus Major against Cincinnati. And then especially if one of them has a hot hand, we will see one of them do the majority of the game, I expect.
I mean, Jeff Lebby talked about how balanced he wants to be. He wants to really promote balance within the offense. But if they're gonna put people in the box, Jeff Lebby's going to throw the ball. It all depends on the approach that Cincinnati's going to take to try to stop OU. Pick your poison. But OU has shown that they can definitely throw over the top. Haven't seen the tight end a lot. I don't know if that's something we'll see more in this game tomorrow, but I do expect deep shots, like you said, Brody, early and often. This is what they've been able to do. The one game that OU struggled with on offense, you could say they struggled a little bit against SMU, is just they didn't take many shots. So I think they're going to come out swinging in that category.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and get us opened up here with keys to the game. I mean, I got two main keys to the game. One, containing Emory Jones on defense. Pretty self-explanatory. He's a dual threat quarterback. I think that's the biggest thing on defense. Offensively, it's kind of what you talked about. I don't think it's as much the run game as it is Dylan Gabriel against their secondary. Their secondary, we had Anthony Mazzini on. He talked about their secondary and how many guys they put in the NFL. They kind of are historic of having really good secondary. And so I think that's the biggest two matchups from both sides of the ball will be containing Emory Jones and then Dylan Gabriel in a road environment, in a big game. Will he perform to what he's been performing so far?
Yeah, the single biggest matchup in this game is going to be Oklahoma's offensive line versus that Cincinnati defensive line. It's going to be very interesting, and I think that's where everything's going to start on offense. I mean, it just depends a lot on how, like the run game, the O-line's blocking well, the run game will be just fine. I just think, how can Oklahoma's offensive line, especially if you got a true freshman on the offensive line starting, how are they going to be able to handle Dominic Corleone and that talented Cincinnati defense? And then On the other side of the ball, I just look for Oklahoma to continue playing very sound defense behind Danny Stutzman. I think they'll get good pressure. And again, it is key to contain Emory Jones. Can't have him on third downs running for 10 yards. You got to contain them. If they can contain Emory Jones, I think Oklahoma's defense will have another successful performance.
And I think it was Teddy Lemon on the Oklahoma Breakdown who had a great point about how Oklahoma's defensive line in the first 3 games, especially on the edge, they would rush up past the quarterback and break contain. So that is something they cannot do that versus Emory Jones, because Emory Jones will kill them with his legs if Oklahoma defensively cannot contain. And also, I look for just offensively, I truly just look for how Oklahoma's going to be able to run the ball, because really, I don't know the identity of this Oklahoma team yet. Is it going to be an offense that's going to have to throw it 30 to 40 times a game, or are they going to be a team that can rely on the run game? We don't really know yet. Obviously, the first 3 games have been more pass heavy because they maybe haven't been able to hit the explosive run. And now they're averaging 4 yards a carry. So it's not like there's just playing terrible, but it's like they're lacking the explosiveness in the run game. So it's offensively to create some explosive plays.
It's going to be an offense to me that you take what the defense. Levy's got to take what if the defense is going to put people up like TU did last week and go man on man. You got to throw the ball double more than you pass. I mean, if they're going to not put safeties back like Tulsa last week, they were just manning up thinking they were going to guard those receivers. It's not happening. So if teams do that, then you got to go pass heavy.
Yeah, and my key takeaway, guys, is it is the running game, and it's going to be OU's ability if they can continue to prove that they can make teams one-dimensional. OU's got to make Cincinnati one-dimensional. They kind of are one-dimensional anyway. They're a running team. OU's got to stop the run, plug up the middle, not allow the 5-yard gains early, in the series, and then force them to throw, because I think if they do with Woody Washington on the Xavier Anderson, right? Xavier Anderson or Alexander
Henderson.
anyway.
Henderson.
Yeah, Xavier
Henderson.
He leads the Big 12 in receptions. He's got 20 through 3 games. I think that's a matchup you got to watch. But the only way I think OU is able to really contain that really well is to be able to put them in 3rd and long. And the only way to do that is to stop the run, because they are going to come out and try to establish the run. I actually look for Cincinnati to try to shorten this game a little bit and take a lot of plays out of OU's hands and shorten it by maybe running some clock, by being able to establish the running game. So OU, in my opinion, the biggest key, stop the run game of Cincinnati.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to, I think, just as much as Oklahoma's defensive line is going to play a factor to contain Emory Jones, also the linebackers and the safeties, they're going to have to be able to tackle in space well, especially if they come downhill, and especially like if Oklahoma decides that we're not going to allow Emory Jones to beat us with his legs, which is actually what I kind of expect Oklahoma to do, is you are going to make Emory Jones sit in the pocket and beat you with his arm. Because it was versus Miami of Ohio. I don't know how many yards he had on the ground, but he had 2 interceptions, I think it was. I don't even know if he threw a touchdown, maybe. But, I mean, like, he is just not a guy that's a pure pocket passer. So Oklahoma's going to have to turn him into a one-dimensional thing. It's something that he is not comfortable at, or maybe has not shown he has the capabilities of doing, and being a pure pocket passer.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who gets to start at safety. I'd assume it's probably Peyton Bowen or Key Lawrence, with some injuries happening back there. But Deshaun McCullough is going to be back. He'll be a factor this week, probably starting more than likely. And I'm interested to see how much I'd imagine they'll blitz him a little bit more than they blitzed like Peyton Bowen. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. This is our first real look at Deshaun McCullough. We've seen him play 2 plays, and he made a play in one of those 2 plays. So I'm very excited to see what he can do and what he can add to this defense as well.
Yeah, he's someone with his height. I think he's going to be able to get in the passing lane, maybe bat a couple balls down with his athletic ability and height. But let's talk about Sooner standouts, guys. Who do you see as a Sooner standout for tomorrow's game?
I'll start off with mine so no one steals it. Drake Stoops, man. I mean, the ties to Ohio. Is it Bob Stoops that's from Ohio? I don't want to
the whole family, man.
Yeah, okay.
Stoops family.
The whole Stoops family's from Ohio. That's what I thought. But, man, I think Jeff Levy is going to make an emphasis to get Drake Stoops the ball. He had 2 touchdowns versus Tulsa. He maybe should have had a third if he would have reached the ball out to the pylon. But, I expect Drake Stoops to really be heavily involved early and often. And I do think that Drake Stoops is going to have maybe his game of his career on Saturday, just because of how much family and friends he's going to have there and it being in Ohio.
I think there's going to be a lot of receivers that shine, and one of them being Jalil Farouk. He's who I will have my player of the game prediction for. They need to just get him the ball any way they can. And Farouk, six receptions, 126 yards, and a touchdown last week. I'd imagine they're going to feed him in the screens or whatever it may be just to get him open. He's very dynamic. You just get in the ball, and I imagine he'll make plays tomorrow.
I'm gonna go Gavin Sawchuk. I think he kind of has a breakout game tomorrow, running the ball. Offensively, I think it's his time. I think he's gonna, he got a little run last week. He got a little playing time. I think he's gonna have more this week, and I think he's gonna perform well. Defensively, I think Peyton Bowen gets the interception this week and has a huge game. I'm gonna go freshman Peyton Bowen.
I'm going to stay on the receiver side as well with Brody, and I don't think the 3-touchdown game from Nick Anderson was a fluke at all. I think he's someone that's going to continue to shine, step up, catch touchdowns, catch a lot of yards because he's going to be going down the field. He's going to be a deep threat. Nick Anderson is my offensive Sooner standout, and if I'm going to pick a defensive one since Jay did, I think Kanik tomorrow shines. I think Kanik's going to get some sacks, some hurries, and maybe even a pick because he is going to be in coverage and in space a lot, and I can see that happening. So I'll go with Kanik.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see Rondell Bothroyd kind of have that breakout game. I mean, he was the talk all offseason. PFF graded him as the highest rated returning defensive end, and he hasn't been bad so far. He just hasn't had those moments we were expecting. I mean, they've had a lot of guys on that defensive line look really good. They look good, but we haven't seen someone break out. So I'd be interested to see Rondell Bothroyd do that. I wouldn't be shocked if Tawi Walker or Marcus Major go for big games. I think them and Javonte Barnes will be the main ones getting the majority of the carries back there.
Well, I would say for my defensive player of the game, I mean, I have Dasan McCullough. His return, I think he's maybe going to show some of the flashes we've seen. I expect him to get a lot of run at Cheetah on Saturday because they are really going to see what they have with him there because he's taken the least amount of snaps at Cheetah out of everyone's due to me. Him not being able to play with injury. So it'll be interesting to see. And also in what ways they do use Dasan McCullough. Like, do they want him more out in coverage or do they want him more up on the line of scrimmage? So that's something I expect Brent Venables to toy with too, is just his versatility.
Yeah, so what are your comments, guys? Drop them in the chat. Let us know who your offensive, defensive players of the game, the Sooner standouts, will be tomorrow at 11 o'clock, Nippert Stadium there in Cincinnati, 11 a.m. kick. Big noon Fox game of the week. Joe Klatt on the call there, Gus Johnson. So now let's get after it with some game predictions, guys. Who do we got this week?
I think it's going to be a game in which Oklahoma shows the nation why Oklahoma is back. Now, what I mean by back is why Oklahoma is a legitimate threat to make the college football playoff. I think Oklahoma is going to Cincinnati to make a statement. They've heard all the things, right? The Big 12 show thing that's going to be filmed. There's going to be like documentary people there for the Big 12 in case there's an upset. I mean, Big Noon Kickoff's going to be there. Cincinnati's first game in the Big 12. And, I think Oklahoma is going to come in. They're going to have a statement to prove. And I think they're going to win by a score of 45-17.
This is the game where we find out how much has changed. I mean, last year, Oklahoma was 3-0 after Nebraska. This year, they're 3-0 after Tulsa. So I think Oklahoma comes out and they get the win 41 to – what'd you say, Jackson? Did you say 17?
Yeah.
I'd probably say 21 maybe. I'll go 41-21.
I'm with you, Brody. This is it's a game where we see what's different about this Sooner team. What's different about Dylan Gabriel? What's different about the staff and how they manage the game? It's a road test. It is a hostile place to play. We heard it with Anthony Mazzini, that was on this week. This is going to be a test mentally. I think the Sooners are up for the challenge. I've liked everything that's come out of the coaching staff's mouths and the players' mouths as they approach this week. I do, though, look for this to be a little tighter maybe and for a final score of 37-20, Sooners on top.
Yeah, I think it's just a game in which Oklahoma is going to have to play, honestly, great on both sides of the ball. I don't think Oklahoma can just play good on offense or defense. I think they're going to have to play great because Cincinnati, they're going to want to make a statement. But I think this Oklahoma team has changed. I think things have changed. And I don't think the first 3 games of the year were a fluke to Oklahoma's top 10 nationally, offensively, and defensively.
There you have it. Any national games, Jackson, that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I'd say the Colorado-Oregon game. That's kind of a game in which can Deion Sanders do it again and shock the world? I don't know how much more he has left in him with Travis Hunter being out. I think if Travis Hunter was healthy, this would be a different story. But, I just think that Oregon, obviously, they're led by Bo Nix, who has a chance to be in Heisman contention at the end of the year. Oregon has a chance to win the Pac-12. Colorado, as I said, they're without maybe the best player in the country in Travis Hunter. I think there's an argument for that. So, I think that Colorado, they're going to make it a close game, but I do think Colorado is going to end up losing. So I have Oregon in that one.
I picked Colorado to lose last week, and I'm going to pick them to lose again this week. I think it's going to be tight, though. It's going to be a good matchup, but I'm going to take Oregon.
I'd take Oregon as well. I think Colorado will keep it close for a while, and then Oregon will flood them after that.
Drop your comments, guys. Again, it's big game tomorrow. OU Cincinnati, 11 a.m. kick. We'll be there to cover it about 10:30. Going to have a YouTube live. Make sure you're a part of that as we update on guys who are out there warming up, maybe injury situations. Get your thoughts as well. And then we'll make sure we got plenty of post-game content coming your way. So be a part of it here at the Sooner Surge. Till next time, Boomer.
Boomer.